Oh, this is rich. This is absolutely delicious. I need you to sit down for this one, because what I'm about to tell you is going to make you laugh and cry at the same time. You ready? 3 people made a pact against you. Yeah, 3 whole human beings sat down, probably in someone's living room, probably over coffee or something stronger, and decided that you needed to be destroyed. They looked at each other with those serious faces, nodded in agreement, and said, yes, this one needs to go down. This one is too much. This one needs to be stopped. And you want to know the funniest part? 2 of them already broke. Already. The pact isn't even cold yet, and it's already falling apart like wet paper. They couldn't even hold it together long enough to see it through. These are the masterminds that were supposed to end you. These are the strategic geniuses who thought they could outsmart your destiny. And they're already crumbling. I'm sorry. I need a moment. This is too good. You've been walking around feeling like something was off, haven't you? Feeling like there were walls where there shouldn't be walls. Feeling like opportunities were evaporating before you could touch them. Feeling like people were acting strange, saying one thing, but their eyes were saying something else entirely. You thought you were paranoid. You thought you were being dramatic. You thought maybe you were just having a bad season and needed to push through. Nah, you were being hunted. 3 people decided you were a threat. 3 people looked at your light, your potential, your trajectory, and instead of being inspired, they got scared. Instead of working on themselves, they decided to work on destroying you. Because that's what small people do when they encounter something they can't become. They try to eliminate it. If I can't have it, neither can you. If I can't be it, you won't be it either. Classic. But here's where the comedy really begins. They thought they were being so clever. They thought they had it all figured out. They mapped out your weaknesses. They identified your blind spots. They knew exactly which buttons to push, which lies to spread, which connections to poison. They did their homework on you like you were a final exam they needed to ace. And for a while, it probably felt like they were winning. Things weren't going your way. People were pulling back. Doors were closing. You felt it. You felt the resistance, but you couldn't name it. And the whole time, these 3 were watching, smiling, thinking their little plan was working. But they forgot one tiny detail. They forgot who they were dealing with. They forgot that you're not regular. They forgot that you survived things that would have buried entire bloodlines. They forgot that every time life knocked you down, you got back up with more information, more strength, more clarity. They thought your softness was weakness. They thought your kindness was stupidity. They thought your silence meant you didn't know what was happening. Wrong. So let me tell you about the first one who broke. This one was probably the weakest link from the beginning. They joined the pact not because they genuinely hated you, but because they wanted to belong. They wanted to be in the inner circle. They wanted to feel important, included, part of something. So when the other 2 started talking about how you needed to be taken down, this one nodded along, said all the right things, pretended to be just as committed to your destruction. But here's the thing about people who operate from insecurity. They can't sustain anything. They don't have the internal architecture to maintain a lie, to hold a grudge, to stay committed to darkness. It eats at them. It keeps them up at night. They start seeing your face everywhere. They start feeling your energy even when you're not around. Every good thing that happens to you despite their efforts feels like a personal attack on their reality. And eventually, they crack. This first one started distancing themselves from the other 2, started making excuses for why they couldn't meet up to discuss the plan, started feeling sick to their stomach every time they had to pretend, Because somewhere deep down, buried under all that insecurity and need for approval, there was still a tiny piece of conscience left. And that piece wouldn't let them sleep. They broke. Quietly. Pathetically. They didn't even have the courage to come to you and confess. They just withdrew. Started acting different around the other two. Started subtly sabotaging the plan by forgetting to do their part, by accidentally letting information slip, by being conveniently unavailable when they were needed most. The pact of 3 became a pact of 2, and 2 is already unstable. Now let's talk about the second one, who broke. This one is more interesting. This one actually believed in the mission. This one genuinely thought you deserved what was coming to you. Maybe you did something to them once. Maybe you succeeded where they failed. Maybe you simply existed in a way that made them feel inadequate. Whatever the reason, this one had real fire behind their hatred. They weren't just going along with it, they were driving it. But fire burns out, especially when it's not fed by anything real. See, the second one made a critical error. They thought destroying you would make them feel better about themselves. They thought that once you were down, once you were broken, once you were struggling, they would finally feel successful, worthy, complete. They thought your pain would be their gain. It wasn't. Because here's what nobody tells you about revenge, about schemes, about spending your energy trying to bring someone else down. It doesn't fill anything. It doesn't heal anything. It doesn't build anything. You can successfully destroy someone and still feel empty the next morning. You can win every battle against your perceived enemy and still lose the war against yourself. The second one started realizing this. They were putting all this effort into your destruction, neglecting their own life, their own growth, their own opportunities, and you were still standing. Maybe a little shaken, maybe a little confused, but still standing, still breathing, still moving forward, still being you. And they started asking themselves the question that always breaks people like this. What's the point? What's the point of all this energy spent on someone who isn't thinking about me at all? What's the point of this obsession when I could be building something of my own? What's the point of this hatred when they don't even know I exist in this capacity? The second one broke differently than the first. The second one broke through exhaustion, through the slow, grinding realization that they were destroying themselves, trying to destroy you. That every scheme, every plot, every whispered lie was taking years off their own life, while you remained untouched by their efforts. They stopped. Not out of conscience, not out of guilt, but out of pure fatigue. They ran out of gas. They ran out of motivation. They ran out of the delusion that this was worth their time. And now there's one person left holding this sad little pact together. One person who started with 2 allies and now sits alone, wondering what happened. One person who has to face the reality that their great conspiracy has been reduced to a solo mission that nobody believes in anymore. This is the part where I should feel sorry for them, right? This is the part where compassion kicks in and I say something about forgiveness and understanding and how hurt people hurt people. Nah, not today. Today we laugh. Today we recognize the cosmic comedy of people who thought they could stop what God started. Today we appreciate the absolute hilarity of 3 regular humans thinking they could outsmart divine protection. Today we enjoy the show, because what they didn't understand, what they couldn't possibly comprehend, is that you were never an easy target. You just looked like one. You seemed accessible. You seemed vulnerable. You seemed like someone who could be taken down with enough coordinated effort. But you're not regular. You never were. You're the type who gets stronger under pressure. You're the type who learns from every attack and adapts. You're the type who can take a hit and keep walking like nothing happened. You're the type who survives things that don't have survival rates. They saw what they wanted to see. They saw someone they could defeat. They didn't see the years of preparation, the invisible armor, the ancestral protection, the divine backing. They tried to fight someone who had already won. They just didn't know it yet. And now look at them. Too broken, scattered, probably pretending they were never part of it in the first place. Probably rehearsing their innocent faces for when the truth comes out. Probably distancing themselves from the third one, leaving them holding the bag, taking the fall for a plan they all created together. That third one, by the way, they're still trying. Bless their heart. They're still out there thinking they can salvage this. Still plotting, still scheming, still convinced that if they just try a little harder, push a little further, maybe they can still win. They can't. They don't know it yet, but they've already lost. The moment the first one broke, it was over. The moment the pact cracked, the energy shifted. What was once a coordinated attack is now just a sad individual throwing punches at shadows. And you're not even in the ring anymore. You moved on, you're building, you're growing, you're becoming, while they're still stuck on chapter 1, trying to rewrite an ending that was never theirs to write. Let me tell you what's going to happen next, because this is where it gets even funnier. That third one, the lone soldier still carrying this dead mission, they're going to have a moment, maybe late at night, maybe in the shower, maybe during a random Tuesday when everything suddenly gets too quiet. They're going to have a moment where they see themselves clearly. They're going to see all the time wasted, all the energy spent, all the opportunities missed while they were focused on you. They're going to see the friends they lost, including the 2 who broke from the pact. They're going to see the life they could have been building instead of tearing yours down. They're going to feel the weight of all those choices, all those schemes, all those ugly intentions. And they're going to break too. It's inevitable. Nobody can sustain that level of negativity directed at someone who isn't even paying attention to them. It's like screaming into a void that doesn't care about your voice. Eventually you get tired. Eventually you realize the void isn't listening. Eventually you see yourself clearly, hoarse and exhausted, yelling at nothing. But here's the beautiful part. You don't have to wait for that. You don't have to care about their breaking, their awakening, their eventual collapse. That's their journey, their karma, their lesson to learn. Your job isn't to watch them fall. Your job isn't to celebrate their destruction. Keep walking, keep building, keep glowing, keep being so focused on your own path that their little schemes become irrelevant noise in your peripheral vision. Because that's the real victory, isn't it? Not defeating them, but outgrowing them so completely that their attacks can't even reach you anymore. Not winning the battle, but transcending the war entirely. Not proving them wrong, but living a life that makes their opinions worthless. 3 people made a pact against you. 2 already broke. And the third one they'll break too when they realize that you were never the enemy. You were just a mirror, reflecting back their own insecurities, their own failures, their own inability to become what you naturally are. And mirrors don't fight back. Mirrors don't defend themselves. Mirrors just keep reflecting, keep showing, keep existing. And eventually people either love what they see or they shatter themselves trying to break the glass. You're the mirror that won't crack. So laugh. Go ahead. You've earned it. Laugh at the absurdity of three people thinking they could dim a light that was lit by something bigger than all of them combined. Laugh at the comedy of watching a pact dissolve before it could accomplish anything. Laugh at the divine humor of enemies defeating themselves while you just existed. This isn't arrogance. This is recognition. This is finally understanding that the attacks against you were never about you at all. They were about their own fear, their own smallness, their own desperate need to feel powerful by making someone else feel weak. And you survived it. Not by fighting, not by scheming back, not by becoming what they wanted you to become. You survived it by being so committed to your own path that their distractions couldn't derail you. You survived it by trusting something bigger than their plans. You survived it by being too stubborn, too focused, too protected to fall for their traps. 3 made a pact. 2 already broke. 1 is still trying. And you're still standing, still rising, still becoming everything they were afraid you'd become. That's not luck. That's destiny. Refusing to be interrupted by amateurs. Now stop worrying about them. Stop wondering what they're planning next. Stop giving them mental real estate they can't afford. The pact is broken. The conspiracy failed. The only thing left is their regret and your continued ascension. Focus on that. Focus on rising so high that when you finally look down, you can't even see them anymore. Focus on building something so magnificent that their little plots become funny stories you tell at dinner parties. Focus on becoming so powerful that the next time someone thinks about making a pact against you, the other 2 immediately say, "Are you crazy?" Not that one. Never that one. That's where you're headed. That's what's coming. That's who you're becoming. And it's hilarious. Absolutely, cosmically, divinely hilarious. You ever notice how people treat pain like it's a mistake? Like it wasn't supposed to happen to them? Like life glitched, malfunctioned, did them dirty. They complain. They run. They numb it. They distract themselves with noise, with people who don't care, with promises that don't last. But not you. You didn't run. You sat with it. You stared it down. How? And that's why you're still standing. Maybe scarred. Maybe quieter, but still here. And that's the part they don't understand. Pain didn't erase you. It rewrote you. See, once someone learns how to breathe while everything inside them is burning, they stop fearing the heat. Once you survive nights that almost swallowed you whole, daylight doesn't scare you anymore. That's when you become dangerous. Because pain doesn't break real ones. It introduces them to who they really are. You remember those nights, don't you? The ones where sleep wouldn't come, where your chest felt tight, like it was carrying something too heavy to name, where you replayed every word, every betrayal, every silence that hurt louder than shouting ever could. Those nights weren't wasted. Those nights weren't wasted. They were shaping you. While everyone else was comfortable, you were learning how to endure. While they were laughing, you were learning restraint. While they were leaning on others, you were becoming your own foundation. That's why you move different. Now, you don't beg. You don't chase. You don't explain yourself to people who never tried to understand you in the first place. Pain trained you to stop talking and start watching. And that silence is strength. Most people think healing is about pretending it didn't hurt, smiling for the world, posting like everything's fine. But you learn something deeper. You learn that real healing doesn't make you louder. It makes you precise. You don't bleed in public anymore. You don't give reactions to people who fed off your chaos. You don't scream when you can walk away. You smile instead. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because it doesn't own you anymore. See, smiling at pain isn't weakness. It's defiance. It's saying, you didn't finish me. Pain tried to strip you, and it did. It took illusions, and it took attachments. It took people you thought would never leave. Oh, but it left something behind. Clarity. You stopped confusing loyalty with self-destruction. You stopped calling abandonment love. You stopped shrinking just to keep the peace. And that's when people started saying you changed. Of course you did. How could you not? Pain doesn't leave you the same. It sharpens edges. It hardens boundaries. It teaches you the value of silence. You don't explain your growth to people who enjoyed you broken. You don't apologize for becoming stronger than they could handle. You didn't become cold. You became focused. There's a difference. Cold is empty. Focused is controlled. You learn to carry pain without letting it leak into everything you touch. You learned how to stand still while chaos tried to pull you back. That's discipline. That's power. And here's the part nobody claps for. Nobody celebrates you while you're healing. Nobody checks in when you're rebuilding quietly. They only notice once you're unrecognizable. Once your presence feels heavier. Once your absence feels louder. That's when they get uncomfortable. Because they remember the version of you that tolerated everything. The one who explained too much. Forgave too fast. Stayed too long. That version is gone. Pain burned it out of you. Now you move with intention. You choose peace over familiarity. Distance over disrespect. Silence over pointless arguments. You don't react. You respond. And sometimes you don't respond at all. That's when people really start talking. Because nothing unsettles someone more than a person they couldn't break. They threw weight at you. They tested your limits. They watched you struggle and expected you to collapse. Instead, you adapted. You didn't announce your healing. You didn't broadcast your comeback. You just kept going. That's how strength moves. Quiet, unbothered, unexplained. Pain taught you patience, not the gentle kind. The kind where you wait while everything inside you wants to explode. It taught you endurance, breathing under pressure while others panic. It taught you restraint, knowing you could destroy bridges but choosing not to because you're building something bigger on the other side. You stopped fighting for validation. You stopped needing to be chosen. You chose yourself. And that's when everything shifted. See, pain has a way of removing masks, yours and theirs. You started seeing people clearly. Who shows up when it's inconvenient? who disappears when it's heavy, who loved you for access, not for who you are. That realization hurt, but it also freed you. You stopped investing where there was no return, stopped watering connections that never grew, stopped offering your soul to people who treated it like an option. Pain made you selective, and selection is power. Now your energy isn't scattered, your time isn't wasted, your presence isn't free. And the ones who benefited from your old softness, they don't like this version of you. They call you distant, arrogant, cold. Let them. They mistook kindness for permission, silence for weakness, patience for tolerance. Pain corrected that misunderstanding. You learned that being strong doesn't mean being loud. It means being unmovable. It means standing firm without announcing it. It means walking away without needing closure. It means letting your peace speak, where your words used to beg. You don't chase explanations anymore. You don't replay conversations hoping for different endings. You understand now, some people were lessons, not lifelines. And that truth didn't come gently. It came through loss, through betrayal, through nights you survived alone, but you survived. That's what matters. Pain didn't destroy your heart. It taught it boundaries. It didn't make you bitter. It made you aware. You still feel deeply. You just don't hand that depth to everyone. You love smarter now. You trust slower, move cleaner. And when pain shows up again, because it always does, you don't panic, you smile, because you've carried worse, because you've survived heavier, because you know pain isn't a dead end. It's resistance training for the soul. It doesn't come to end you. It comes to strengthen what refuses to quit. You've learned how to sit with discomfort without letting it define you, how to be alone without feeling empty, how to move forward without dragging old wounds behind you. That's growth. And growth is lonely, but it's honest. You'd rather walk alone with peace than stay surrounded by noise that drains you. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be solid. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to build something that lasts. Pain made you disciplined. It made you grounded. It made you dangerous in the quietest way. You don't announce your strength. People feel it. They feel it in how you don't flinch, in how you don't react, in how you don't chase. They feel it in your absence. And here's the truth. Most people never accept. Pain doesn't make you weaker. Avoiding it does. Running from it does. You didn't run. You faced it. You learned from it. You let it carve you, instead of consume you. That's why you stand the way you do now. That's why your presence feels different. That's why your silence carries weight. You didn't come this far to fold. You didn't endure all that to stay the same. Pain made you sharper, stronger, clearer. And when you smile now, it's not fake. It's recognition. It's you acknowledging everything you survived and refusing to be ashamed of it. You smile at pain because you know what it did for you. You know what it built in you, and no one can take that away. They tried to bury you. They didn't realize you were learning how to grow underground. They thought silence meant defeat. They didn't hear the sound of rebuilding. So let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them wonder. Or, you're busy becoming. Smile at the pain. Not because it was kind, but because it made you stronger. And here's the part most people never talk about. Pain doesn't leave once you get stronger. It just stops scaring you. It still shows up. It still taps you on the shoulder when things get quiet. Still reminds you of who left, who failed you, who doubted you when you were down. But now it doesn't knock you off balance. Balance? Because you understand something most people never learn. Pain isn't an enemy. It's a test of posture. It watches how you stand when no one's watching, how you move when there's no applause, how you carry yourself when the weight gets heavy again. And you've learned how to carry weight. You don't collapse under it anymore. You don't complain. You don't beg the universe for answers. You adjust your grip. That's strength. There was a time when pain made you question your worth, made you replay every mistake like it defined you, made you wonder why you weren't enough for people you gave everything to. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. You stopped asking, why me? And started asking, what now? That question changed everything. Instead of drowning in it, you studied it. Instead of fighting it, you learned from it. Instead of letting it turn you bitter, you let it make you precise. You realized pain doesn't demand revenge. It demands evolution. Demands evolution. And evolution is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't explain itself. It just happens. Slowly, relentlessly, privately. That's what you've been doing while everyone else stayed stuck. You didn't heal loudly. Well, you healed correctly. You cut access. You raised standards. You stopped pouring into people who never poured back. And that wasn't easy. Because letting go hurts almost as much as being hurt. But you chose pain with purpose over comfort that was killing you. That's courage. You learned that peace isn't free. It costs people. It costs habits. It costs the old version of you that tolerated everything just to feel needed. And you paid that price? Not dramatically. Not publicly. Quietly. You didn't announce departures. You didn't explain your boundaries. You just stopped showing up where you were disrespected. That silence wasn't passive. It was final. People felt it. They felt it when you stopped reacting, when you stopped defending yourself, when you stopped chasing conversations that went nowhere. Because when someone loses access to you, they finally realize your value. But by then, you're already gone. Pain taught you that closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you decide. You stopped waiting for apologies that were never coming. Stopped expecting accountability from people allergic to responsibility. You accepted the truth. Some people don't change. They just reveal. And once you saw clearly, you couldn't unsee it. That clarity hurt. Hurt but it also freed you. You stopped romanticizing struggle. Stopped confusing chaos with passion. Stopped calling inconsistency love. You started choosing stability, consistency, peace. And that scared people who only knew how to connect through drama. They missed the version of you that over-explained, the one who gave second chances without conditions, the one who stayed even when it hurt. They don't miss you. They miss access. And you're done giving that away. Pain taught you that boundaries aren't walls. They're filters. They don't keep people out. They keep the wrong ones from draining you. Now your circle is smaller, but it's cleaner. Your days are quieter, but they're focused. Your heart is guarded, but it's not closed. That it's protected. Because once you've been broken open, you learn how sacred your energy really is. You don't waste it on arguments that go nowhere. You don't engage in battles that don't move you forward. You don't prove yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You let results speak. That's the discipline pain gave you. You became someone who doesn't need validation to stay consistent. Someone who doesn't need approval to stay driven. Someone who doesn't need revenge to feel powerful. You remember everything, but you're not ruled by it. That's mastery. See, pain doesn't just strengthen you physically or mentally. It rewires how you see the world. You stop trusting words. You watch behavior. How you watch behavior, you stop believing promises. You measure consistency. You stop falling for potential. You respect patterns. That awareness didn't come from comfort. It came from disappointment, from betrayal, from giving your best and receiving silence in return. But instead of letting that turn you cold, you let it turn you wise. And wisdom is dangerous, because now you see through things, through people, through situations that used to confuse you. You don't get hooked into emotional traps anymore. You don't get pulled into chaos, disguised as connection. You pause, you observe, you decide. Pain slowed you down just enough to make you intentional, and intention changes everything. You don't rush relationships. You don't rush decisions. You don't rush reactions. You understand that anything built fast usually collapses under pressure. And you've felt enough collapse, so now you build slow, strong, quiet. You don't announce progress. You let time reveal it. And when pain tries to test you again, because it will, you don't panic. You recognize the feeling. You've been here before. You know that discomfort doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it means you're growing. Sometimes it means you're shedding skin that no longer fits. Sometimes it means you're stepping into a version of yourself that requires more discipline than comfort ever did. So you smile. So you smile. Not because it's easy, but because you know what comes after. You know pain doesn't last forever, but strength does. You know every season of pressure leaves you sharper than before. And that confidence, that quiet confidence, it can't be faked. It comes from surviving things no one clapped for, from staying disciplined when motivation disappeared, from choosing growth when bitterness felt easier. You didn't become heartless. You became intentional with your heart. You didn't lose your softness. You stopped giving it to people who weaponized it against you. And that distinction matters. Because you still care. You still feel. You just don't bleed for free anymore. Pain taught you that love without respect is self-betrayal. That loyalty without reciprocity is self-destruction. So you adjusted. Now you stand differently. You don't lean on people who aren't stable. You don't seek shelter in places that already burned you. You learned how to be your own anchor. And that's rare. Most people need noise to feel alive. They need validation. They need attention. You learned how to exist without all of that. You learned how to sit alone without feeling lonely, how to move forward without witnesses, how to grow without permission. That independence didn't come from confidence. It came from pain. And now that you've earned it, you don't give it up easily. You protect your peace like it's sacred. Because it is. You paid for it in nights you barely survived, in conversations that broke you, in realizations that changed you forever. You didn't come this far to relapse into old patterns. You didn't endure all that to stay accessible to chaos. You've outgrown it. What you've outgrown it, and growth makes people uncomfortable. Because when you stop participating in dysfunction, those who live in it feel exposed. They'll say you changed. They'll say you're distant. They'll say you're not the same anymore. They're right. You're stronger, not louder. Not colder, stronger. You smile at pain now because you understand it. You understand that every scar carries a lesson. Every loss carries direction. Every breakdown carries a breakthrough. If you don't quit, and you didn't quit, you kept going when no one checked on you. You stayed disciplined when motivation died. You kept your word to yourself when it would have been easier to fold. That's integrity. That's power. And when you smile now, it's not performance. It's acknowledgement. You're acknowledging the battles you survived, the weight you carried, the version of yourself that refused to disappear. Smile at the pain. Because it didn't end you. It refined you. It stripped away what was weak, exposed what was real, and forced you to become someone who doesn't break under pressure, someone who stands calm while others panic, someone who moves in silence while others seek attention, someone who knows that real strength isn't loud. It's steady. And you've become exactly that.